The last 10 days have been super exciting. For the longest time, Where to Next, which was previously called Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life, a podcast that Sunila and I have hosted for the last 3 years, has been in this studio, has been on Zoom calls, has gone through a lot. But the last 10 days was a time when Where to Next decided to get out of the studio, decided to take the podcast to a country that all of us often call paradise on earth, the country of Roger Federer, Switzerland. And Sunila and I went to Switzerland and took Where to Next to a place where we recorded podcasts on trains, we recorded podcasts in a cable car, on a boat,
Horse carriage.
in a horse carriage, on top of a mountain. So it was a fun experience. So today we are back in this studio and we are going to talk about one of the places that we visited during this 10-day trip. We spent 3 nights in a place called Laax. Now, Sunila, what is Laax?
Good question, Neil. It's great that even after so many years, you find a place in Switzerland which you've not visited before, right? I was just going through and I realized the first time I went to Switzerland was 25 years ago, I think. And in these 25 years, give or take a year, I think almost every year I've been to Switzerland, if not twice, at least once, which is saying a lot. And after all that, when you come across a place where you go and you feel, why have I not been here before? That place was Laax. So Laax is, you can say, a resort town and a village in the canton of Graubünden. And you know what struck me was it was so easy to get to. So it's like this little secret. Well, not secret. It's a lot of people do know about it, but a lot of us didn't know about it. Which is sitting there, hiding there, waiting for us, and something you can discover all through the year. So I think it was this fabulous place. So you have the village and then you have the resort, and everything in the resort, and we'll talk more about it, was so close and so easy to get to. It was so much fun.
So let's start with something that you just mentioned, how to get to Laax.
Right.
It was rather easy.
Yeah.
And of course, both of us know of it. But we started off at Zurich Airport. The train station is right below Zurich Airport.
Yes.
We took a train to Zurich HB, which is the busiest station in Switzerland.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things of that was the fact that Zurich main station may be the busiest station in Switzerland, but it didn't seem busy, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
You know, one thing is it has these different areas, right? And Zurich main station is also a shopping paradise in a way, which is also what we saw. And when we went, it had the biggest indoor Christmas market running there as well. In spite of that, it didn't feel crazy. I think the way the platforms are set, and because everything in Switzerland runs on time, you hardly see people waiting for too long. For me, I think that's the biggest thing. And if you notice, Neil, a lot of the platforms just connect to the road directly. So you don't even have to come to like a station and step out. If you're on the periphery, just step out, start your day, start walking, going wherever you want to go. So I think that really makes it super easy.
I remember our itinerary said that you will take the 9:33 train.
Yeah.
You will get to Zurich HB, which is the main station at, let's say, 9:47. Then it said you have 5 minutes to walk to another platform. And we were quite stressed about it, but it was rather easy. We connected to another train from Zurich HB to a town called Chur, which is spelled as CHUR. And I remember you telling me that this is one of the oldest towns in Switzerland.
About 5,000 years old.
And then from there, we took a post bus. That took us to Laax. Right. Now, Laax, you mentioned, is...
And just before you go ahead with Laax, but all of this was so easy, even with our luggage. Even with our luggage, just walking out, stepping out. And, you know, the trains have these specialized compartments. So I think the Swiss transport system really, like they say, is this, and especially the Swiss pass, is your all-in-one ticket to everything in Switzerland, right? And we can issue it as tour operators, we can issue it here for people. So once you have it, the best part is it's all digital now. So you don't even need to print it out or have a physical ticket. You can have that, but always have your ID with you. Either your passport or your driving license or your Aadhaar, some form of ID on you always when you're on the trains. We took the train, we just walked across, literally just walked across, went into the platform, we changed trains, and it was super easy, even with 5 minutes connecting time. I know the first time we see that everyone in India thinks, we'll never be able to connect. We need at least half an hour gap between two trains, but you don't, because the trains run on time. You reach there, and then you just change the platform, and then you're in your next train. And the best part with the post bus was that we came out from the train, and then there was the escalator. You take the escalator up and the bus is waiting for you.
Yeah.
So I think I've not seen a smoother transit from a train to a bus, from a train to a train to a bus.
From a plane to a train to a train to a
that's
bus.
right.
I think that's how
Yes.
I would put it. So we got to Laax.
Yeah.
We did a lot of things. We did trampoline, we did skiing, or you tried skiing.
Tried skiing, more like it.
We went to a lake that seemed out of this world.
Yeah.
We had lunch on the banks of the lake. We saw an amazing gorge.
Yes.
Am I missing anything?
Well, we couldn't go to one place because it was not the season for it, which is the UNESCO World Heritage Site out there, the Sarduna Tectonic Area. And this is actually formed when the Earth's plate shifted, and you can see things there. So it's like millions of years old. And, this is the place where actually you see the older rock sitting on the younger rock, because the way the Earth has moved. So we have to go back there in summer for that.
We couldn't visit, but if you're traveling in the summer, you can definitely visit that. But let's talk about the things that we did, right? What would you like to start with?
Let's start with skiing, because that was most fun.
So let's start with skiing from the point of view of someone who has never skied before. Right? How did our day start? What did we do? And what took us up to the mountain? Let's start with that. So your experience, I'll tell you mine.
Well, one of the mistakes I did was that I took my jacket. I had a long jacket, I had a short jacket, because I knew that when you're going to try some snow sports, it's good to have a shorter jacket rather than like a knee-length jacket in which you can't move. And then while coming, I thought, I want to travel light, and it actually had this nice lining inside, but I removed and kept it at home, thinking that, I don't know what I was thinking. We can make mistakes even though we travel so many times. And I said, I would rather travel light, and I left that jacket there. And when I reached there, I realized that if I'm going to be up on the slopes, then I need one more layer inside. So I ended up buying a fleece jacket to go inside my jacket as well. So if you are going to enjoy any form of snow sports, anything, or even just going on a snow mountain and rolling down, not even, doing anything else, you still need layers. And you have to have the proper preparation for that. So like a thermal layer, a dry fit, or whatever else, one fleece or something like that, and then a jacket. I think that kind of completes all the layers you need there. So the first thing is to be prepared, and then you don't need to bring too much, because you can rent out equipment, like the ski pants we rented, the skis we rented, the ski shoes we rented, the ski poles we rented. So everything else can be rented. Bring your own gloves, because that's nicer and
gloves
they fit you better.
Ski goggles,
gloves,
or
sunglasses, your cap and a jacket. That's all you need to carry. The rest can be rented, and so you have to make sure you rent it out.
You made two more mistakes. Can I point them out?
Of course.
You came with a backpack. Right. And
experienced skiers were out there with their backpack, but we'll come to that story later.
But I feel when I saw you in the morning, I was like, she has a backpack.
And you didn't stop me then.
I didn't stop you. I was like, let them learn once they get up the mountain, right? So that was one. If you're doing winter sports, it's always good to invest in a winter sports friendly backpack. That kind of hugs to you. You have like this thing that holds onto the bag. So that's one. A second thing was that we had an instructor, right? And the first question he asked the both of us was that, have you skied before? Right? And I would not say you made a mistake, but often I've also fallen into this trap where I ski maybe once in 12 months. Right? And I was on the mountains of Niseko in Japan. And the ski instructor asked me, Neil, have you skied before? And I said, yeah, I know how to ski. And then he took me up the mountain, right? And then suddenly he saw me struggling. And after about 30 minutes of struggling, he was like, how often do you ski? So I said, once in 12 months. And the instructor was like, So let me tell you a rule. If you are
Uh-huh.
taking lessons and if you ski once in 12 months, you don't really know how to
You
ski.
don't ski.
You don't
Yeah.
ski, right?
Mm.
And now you're
Yeah,
understanding
yeah,
the
yeah.
mistake that
Yeah.
I
I should
told
have
you.
told him like baby steps. I did tell
Yeah.
him I was a beginner. Well, I haven't skied, but I have tried skiing twice before,
Yeah.
which was with, of course, an instructor where or rather, I've had skiing lessons twice before,
Yeah.
not had a chance to follow it up.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was wrong in saying, have you skied before? But to start off with, he came in trying to teach us snowboarding.
Yeah.
And then for him, it was like a
Yeah.
whole turn of events where he said, "Oh, I was all set for snowboarding, and you are here with skis." So it started from there, but it was such a fun day up on the mountain.
Yeah.
Falling, standing, just
Both of
going
us
down
did very
again.
different things, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you are skied before but you haven't skied in the last 12 months, just tell your instructor
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
haven't.
And if you're an absolute beginner, say to start on the magic carpet, because the magic carpet is where the slopes are really prepared for like beginners, and we are all beginners. You just want to go on, stand on skis and have fun gliding down a
Yeah.
little bit. And I think the magic carpet, the area of the ski slope is prepared for that. And probably I would have been on the slopes a little longer if I was on that area,
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I would say is that you can go and ski without carrying a lot of clothing.
Yeah.
You could rent out a lot.
Yeah.
I rented ski pants. I can rent a jacket also. So that was good. But one tip you gave me on top of the mountain was regarding just wearing those ski boots and walking. What was that?
No, I just felt like having the ski boots on and not really skiing, but it just made walking in snow so much easier. Because usually what happens is our shoes are not waterproof.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have waterproof shoes, you just come in your sport shoes,
Don't make that mistake.
Don't do that, because once you get into the snow, the shoes are wet, the socks are wet, and then very quickly you start freezing. Instantly you start freezing. So I would say rent out, if not the ski boots, even I guess the snowboarding boots are more comfortable, right? Or some snowshoes, like just get snowshoes to rent. And first, I felt it more comfortable to walk around, get acclimatized to the whole area. And that somehow made it easier once we went a little higher up, carrying your own skis and walking there and, being there. So I just enjoyed the mountain first. Like when you went off to the other slope, I was out there just taking in the atmosphere, enjoying it. But because I was properly prepared, I enjoyed the mountain a lot more than I would have if I didn't have the right shoes.
Yeah, that's true. And sports shoes or non-waterproof shoes can ruin your holiday because you're in cold weather. If they get wet, they are not going to dry within a night. So if you don't have another pair, you're really struggling, and then that can definitely ruin the holiday. But for a moment there, let's pause and stop. Talk about the Laax, Flims, ski area. Because we went to the ski rental shop. From there, we rented all our stuff, took our equipment, went into the gondola. This was a rather large gondola. But from the bottom of Laax Ski Resort, you don't realize how big the entire winter sports area is up there. Because you take the gondola, which is one of 30 different gondolas or chairlifts. And once you're up there, it's like a massive plateau where you can just ski, you can snowboard, you can do everything. Or as you mentioned, you can just go up there, sit in that restaurant and enjoy a view.
Galaxy, the restaurant out
and it
there,
has like a observation deck or something, right?
It has this beautiful view with the windows. So eat your meal, enjoy the view, sit there, walk there, just have fun.
So while I was skiing, so I went on to the blue slopes. In Switzerland, you'll have blue slopes, which are beginner slopes. Then there are red slopes you graduate to. Then you have black slopes, and black being the most difficult. And then you have off-piste, which means that on the mountain, you go off the designated ski areas and you go anywhere. Of course, I'm a beginner still, and I'm on the blue slopes. That was also a struggle. But while I went skiing, what did you do?
So I was having fun photographing. I was also getting used to the shoes and getting used to the poles. I just took the poles. It also makes it easier to walk with the poles, Neil. So I was walking there, recording a little bit of the podcast also that we did there. There were some chairlifts there. So I was watching people, and there were these families with young kids, and you could see how the kids were just zipping past. And it's a great age to start. I think it's some 4 or 5. which is perfect. So if anyone's wanting their children to start learning ski, take them and teach them young, and they'll grow up to be so much more confident than we are. I walked quite a bit. I saw the whole area, went into the restaurant, and then when the instructor came, I started my ski lessons out there with him. But one thing I noticed about Laax, and we were speaking about that, and you mentioned that when you come into the resort, I mean, till then we couldn't really see the mountain, and we were wondering, where is this mountain? We'll probably have to take another bus and then go. But the best part is everything's so close by. It's like a ski in, ski out resort in that sense, because all the different categories of hotels are all in that same area. So you have the riders, you have, which is more for the younger crowd, you have the Rocks apartments, you have the Signina hotel where we stayed, which is wellness areas and a little more comfortable with the whole service. And everything is nearby. Once you step out of your hotel, you're right there. The snow was right there, the ski was right there, and the gondola, the ski rental shop, everything was there. So
in walking distance.
So it just made it so easy to get around. And I think that is very important when it comes to skiing, because if you noticed, in the post bus that we took, there were a lot of people who got in also with their ski boots and their skis. And the thought of getting into a bus, walking initially with the ski boots is a little tough, right? So imagine walking everywhere with that, carrying those skis, going for some 20 minutes. Instead of that, smooth, just get out of your apartment and you're in the ski resort.
Almost ski in, ski out.
Yeah, for Laax, that was really good.
So based on your experience of trying to do a 2-hour lesson, and in your own words, you were like, within 2 hours, I didn't get to learn much.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation to families that have never skied or done snowboarding before, who come to you and be like, I want to go on a ski holiday, but I want to spend only one day? Would you recommend that?
If you want to just take a few photographs and you want to be on the slopes just to have fun, just to get used to the snow and have a ski experience where you are just learning to wear skis, getting on, then a day is okay. But if you really want to learn a little bit of skiing, then you need to be there 2, 3, actually a week. Because by the time we left, I was just getting used to the skis and the ski shoes. And I was all set to go. Like, no, this is too short. I want to go on for 2 more hours. And I think if I would have had like 2 more days maybe, then it would have been different. That's what Roman, our instructor, was saying as well. You would be okay in the next 2 days. You need 2 more days to really be there and do that. Because I think the first day is just getting used to equipment and getting used to things around, to the environment. By the second day, you know what is expected.
Correct.
And I think by the 3rd, 4th day, you will get really good. And by the 5th, 6th day, you'll really start enjoying it. So if you want to learn, then go in for a week. Also, most of the ski resorts will have a lot of fun things to do after. So it's not boring, like après-ski, So we mentioned all of that. You have the bars, you have the restaurants, you have the wellness areas. Even for kids, there's so many other things to do. So it's not like a boring holiday. You do your lessons in the day and then you have fun in the night. So I would say go in for a week. But if you have just a day, you just want to get used to the skis or just have fun, some Instagram moments, etc., then one day is okay.
I think if you ask me, the ski holidays that I have done, at least 2 days, because I saw with Heta also, Heta did ski lessons the last time we went on a ski holiday, and her confidence kind of came in the second half of the second day. But by then you're like, okay, time to go. Then the next time you go on a holiday might be 12 months later. So I think you should definitely dedicate it to that. Another thing I would also point out is that our friend Claude, who ensured that Laax was Laax, it was probably because of him, and also Emilio, his colleague. He also told me that, you have 2 choices, skiing or snowboarding. Be certain what you want to do. And he said that if you want to ski, remember that skiing is easy to pick up, hard to master. Snowboarding is difficult to pick up, but easy to master. So if you look at it that way, it is something that will help shape your perspective. Now, that was one. But when we landed in Laax, we heard 3 words: freestyle, lifestyle, greenstyle. Everywhere. And right next to our hotel was the Freestyle Academy. Right? But what were these 3 words and what were they really trying to tell us as a traveler?
I think they didn't just say it, they were all living it,
Yeah.
right? Everywhere you went, you could feel it. And I think those three words are a great way to describe Laax or to know more about it. Uh, Freestyle I had heard of, but I think I really understood it when I went to Laax. And freestyle is basically, it just connects with the youth so much.
Yeah.
And I could see that in every resort, every hotel we went to, is having your own style. Basically, it means that nothing's wrong, everything's okay. You did a podcast with Lucas out there, and just the way he was dressed told me what freestyle is, because
Yeah.
he was a snowboarder and he's designing his own clothes line, and they are so stylish and so without being snooty or snobbish. I think they've managed to get the youthful vibes really well, and you yourself feel youthful when you're surrounded in such good company, and the people and the way of life out there. Like, do anything is okay, everything is okay, just add your own style to it. That was freestyle. That is what
So was the
I got.
trampoline course that you did make
Yeah.
you feel like you were back in your teens?
Oh, I thought I was a child again. Forget teens. It was like jumping around on the trampoline. Initially, it looked a little like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? But again, having the instructor and the course helped. Like, he made us so comfortable. And after a while, I was comfortable and able to actually jump on a trampoline again as a child. So
Let's
things we
dive deep
missed
into
out.
the trampoline course then. What was it about? If someone's watching.
So, the Freestyle Academy has these different things. You can do skating, you can do trampoline, for example. And there were really little children out there, small kids who
Doing
were
crazy
walking around,
jumps.
and they were doing such crazy things. Again, I think starting young is the key to everything, but it's okay. If you missed out on that, there's age is just a number, nothing to stop you from going in and having fun. And I liked how he warmed us up initially. So there was this big, like a platform, foam platform, and then we did a few rotations and few movements and warmed us up. And then we went to the trampolines, and where we actually started doing the jumps. Started with simple basic jumps, turning into some jumps with rotations, some where you were standing and then you were sitting down again and coming up, and an hour or two which was spent so nicely. One good thing is it's all indoors, so even if the weather goes really bad or it's raining, you can still have so much fun inside. So I really like that, Neil. In fact, you were doing pretty well on the trampoline
Yeah, it was fun.
towards the end, right?
It was like
And
a
you've been
workout.
on trampolines before,
Yeah,
so
but
you could
not
feel
as
the.
good an experience as this one,
Mm.
because as you mentioned, we had the instructor
Mm.
who took us through a 60-minute
Yeah.
session. It wasn't just like, okay, jump like this and then finish it
Yeah.
off, right? And I've been to trampoline parks around the world, but at the Freestyle Academy, what I really liked was that he made us do like a 15-minute warm up,
Yeah.
which is the most boring thing in the world. But he was
But
like, you
most
will enjoy
necessary.
this experience if you do
Mm.
this 15-minute
Yeah.
warm up. And that I kind of reached a realization only after I completed the course that had I not done the warm up,
Yeah.
I would have had an injury, and I would not have
Yeah, the muscles are warmed up, and
yeah.
and even I think with the jumps, he took us through like a series, right?
Yeah.
Like always going to the next. It was progressive. It wasn't like jumping into the most difficult jump and saying, okay, try this.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. So having an instructor helped.
And one of the cool things while we were here, and I noticed, was that often in towns around Europe, people talk about the après ski experience,
Yeah.
which is what you do after skiing, right? And generally, most ski resorts will have a sauna and will have a nice nightlife experience. Of course, Laax has both of these, but it has the Freestyle Academy also,
Yeah.
where you can go and do this trampoline experience. They have roller skating out there, even for beginners. They have skateboarding also for beginners. Now, we went during a time that was December. Do you think we were still early in the season?
A little early. In fact, we kind of started the season, let's put it like that. But the main season will start, I think, just a week before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then going on to, that's when the snowfall, but they did have some snow in November, they said, and then, they'll experience more and more snowfall now. So the more snow you have, the more fun you have in all of these places. So yeah, we were a little early, but, that's the best we could do. But if you want to really get the right time, then I would say anywhere from 1 week before Christmas until February or even March is a great time to be there.
Awesome. So now that we've discussed that, we also So we were in Laax, but Laax is part of the Laax Flims Falera area. And we went to Flims, which is the kind of main town over there. And you were talking about some architectural things out there. Throw some light on that.
So, we mentioned freestyle. There's lifestyle and green style as well. And we kept seeing all of that too everywhere. And Flims, Laax, and Falera are three villages which are nearby. You can get from one village to the other very easily by other local buses. Of course, if you have the Swiss pass, it works everywhere. If you don't, if you have a point-to-point ticket, then once you check in, they give you a small ticket which works on all the local buses. So again, your transport is covered. And we saw that when people were not staying in Laax, they were living in Flims, coming down here.
Yeah.
In Flims, we also managed to actually go to a shopping mall, kind of place, and there were restaurants there were shops there. So the lifestyle part of it is also something that you get. But Flims is also the place, Neil, which has some history, which has a lot of history. And the architecture here is quite peculiar to that place. So you can see the stone architecture and then you can see the wood architecture on top.
Okay.
And the wood is kind of old. And they've managed to keep it like that. And so you have these white homes with wood, which are kind of quite, peculiar to the area. And in fact, Claude was telling us that a lot of people are now coming to study the architecture, and there are actually architectural tours happening in Flims as well. In fact, that was the place where we found that milk vending machine.
Like we've
That
seen
was
vending
cool.
machines that are very distinct all around the world, but a milk vending machine where you get your own bottle, put it there, and you get milk from
Fresh cow's milk,
fresh
right?
cow's milk. Probably only in Switzerland that you'll
Yeah.
find like that. And I found that quite unique. But on the way to Flims, we went to another place which was a gorge. But before that, I just remembered you mentioned that from Flims to Laax to Falera, you could take a bus.
Yeah.
You could go there and the Swiss pass works. But another way to transport between the villages, if it hasn't occurred to you, is you taking the gondola up the mountain.
Yes.
And from the top of the mountain, skiing to a different area than where you started. So what people often do is that people like to go up to the mountain, ski down to Flims, then again take a chairlift, go up the mountain, ski down to Laax, take the chairlift, go up, and probably ski down to the third area. So that is also another way that you can do that.
And experienced skiers who spend the whole day there often start in one area and end up in the other, and then use your card and come back by bus. So very convenient.
It's amazing. So okay, let's talk about this gorge where we saw mountains, valleys, train, tunnels, river all together, and gave us that kind of amazing Swiss experience. What was this?
So that is the Ruinaulta or the Rhine Gorge.
Yeah.
Again, I think, if I'm not wrong, more than some 10,000 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, forget the age, it was stunningly beautiful. And then you have the Rhine River. So this is they call it the young Rhine River because here is where it starts. And then you have the whole gorge out there stretching out. There are quite a few viewpoints where you can stop. And if you remember, just out there was also the old road that people had carved out there.
The oldest road in Switzerland.
The oldest road in Switzerland, which connected Italy to Switzerland. So when there was trade happening, the Romans would come in from that road, and it was a very narrow road, extremely beautiful scenery all around. And autumn had just ended, winter is starting. There were still a few trees with the autumn colors, and it was just stunning with the clouds, trees, river. And like you mentioned, when we reached there, we saw the train coming in.
Yeah.
Spectacular. In summer, you can also do a lot of water activities here. So you can do rafting out there, you can do stand-up paddle boarding, you can do all these things that you want to do on the river. And there are a lot of hiking and biking trails.
Yeah.
So you can just take the bus out, or the car out, stop by, walk along the Rhine Gorge, and then take one of these hiking trails. The yellow ones are the hiking ones and the brown ones are for bikes. So if you're on a mountain bike, take the brown trail, and if you're walking, take the yellow trail. In fact, these signposts also tell you the altitude and also tell you how much time it will take you till the next stop or till the next destination. So the Rhine Gorge was that really nice place. We did see two more. We saw one more place, and then the UNESCO Sarduna is something that we didn't see. But I think we can talk of the next place. We really enjoyed a good meal there too, which was Lake Caumasee.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe Lake Caumasee, because one was that when you first see it, you're like, this is a hidden gem.
Yeah.
The water is clear to a point where you can see the lake floor, and you have an amazing reflection of the mountains. And we were very lucky that the sun was shining. Right. And how long was the walk? What, 25 minutes that we did?
Yeah, about.
And one of the cool things was that, there were those water outlets, water fountains all across. So what is the thing with them? All across Switzerland, you will find these water fountains, right? Drinking water fountains.
Yeah, you never go thirsty in Switzerland. Just have an empty bottle with you at all times. I mean, in Zurich, there are more than 1,200 water fountains. Lucerne has some more than 400 water fountains in the city, and every hiking trail and everywhere you have fresh water that is in the water fountain. So when you're thirsty, stop by, have a drink, and keep continuing. So yeah, you find these water fountains so conveniently located on hiking trails in cities everywhere. So you really are never thirsty out there. And I think what makes it really good is that the water is so fresh. It comes from the mountain springs, which makes it even better. Lake Caumasee, the thing is that it is a lake formed by the mountain spring. So again, you don't really see a river draining into it because the source is underground. And I think that is what makes it special, because that is what gives it the color. So if you saw, Neil, like we had seen photos and we didn't know what to expect, but it was an emerald, turquoise and changing. And they say that the lake changes the color with the sunlight, of course. So it changes color throughout the day. Now, one tip here is to actually try and reach there early, because you have this big mountain right in front of the lake. The sunset here maybe happens an hour before, or the sun, light stop. It just goes behind the mountain much before sunset. And then things look different. It looks best with the sun is shining. So reach there early and take all your time, because once you reach there, you will want time out there.
And when we were walking to the lake, you park in the parking lot. You do a 10-minute walk, and there is a lift that takes you down. We got into the lift wasn't working. Don't you think that was a blessing in disguise, because it kind of took us on a trail where we walked down to the lake? So I felt like I was so happy that the lift wasn't working, that on the way up also I was hoping that it wouldn't work. So you'll probably walk the entire route again. And during the summers, it gets so crowded that they charge an entry fee to get to the area. But I can only imagine that during the summers, it will just be even more spectacular. What would you say about the lunch that we had over there?
I quite enjoyed the lunch. It was really amazing. And I think the view, to have just one restaurant out there automatically kind of keeps the numbers low. So it doesn't feel too crowded. The food was good. The view was spectacular, and everything was great. Just what you mentioned, Neil, now that in summer it does get crowded. And I think that is one of the reasons I really enjoyed this winter trip in that sense. Like traveling in December, the crowds were just not there. And anywhere.
We didn't stand in line anywhere.
Nowhere, no queuing. It was a blessing. And if you have good clothes, then you enjoy every kind of weather. Like you just need proper clothes. And I think traveling in winter is really a boon.
And maybe in the summers you could also probably swim in the lake, no?
Yes, of course. I think Switzerland needs to be done in different seasons. Maybe the same place, you should go in and do your winter thing, come in and do the summer thing again, and compare, or spring and autumn for that matter.
Awesome. So as we get towards the end of the episode, we mentioned food, but this was probably our first trip to Switzerland, where our first meal, our third meal, our fifth meal was vegetarian.
True.
Right?
And the last 2 days were vegetarian too, in a row.
When I returned, Heta was like, wow, you've lost weight. I was like, yeah, if I'm having vegetarian all trip, I'm definitely going to lose weight. But that kind of changed our perspective of how we saw Switzerland, say 10 years ago to now. So how was the food in Laax, according to you?
I like the variety. I mean, we had different food every day. We had Italian. We also had ikigai, which was like an Asian menu. And from Indian to Japanese to Korean to, they had like a Pan-Asian restaurant, which was serving everything. The food was really tasty out there. I like that too. The Italian in our hotel in Signina was also really nice. And the vegetarian was a surprise. It was nice in the Riders Hotel. And it surprised me that in this hotel which is known for youngsters and youth, you have a vegetarian restaurant.
Yeah.
And what surprised me even more was that when we walked in, the restaurant was full. People were there everywhere, and I quite like this chef's tasting concept that they have out there. Of course, we ordered a la carte, but if you want, you can order, just leave it to the chef and have a tasting menu.
Yeah, like a 6-course.
6 course or 7 course, and then they just bring in one dish after the other, which is pretty amazing. So I think the food was really good.
And don't you think that something that we like as Indian travelers, when we want bigger portions, and in Europe you're often like suddenly a massive plate comes and there is just like one small thing out there. But the portion sizes in Switzerland have kind of gone up, don't you think?
Quite a bit. I was surprised again. So this time the food really surprised me. And even like 10 years back, maybe you found one vegetarian. I remember I was in Norway and they had a cover charge of 30 euros some 15 years back.
Yeah.
And it was a veg place, but there were only potatoes. That's it.
Nothing
right?
else.
And some salad. So you're stuck with salad and potatoes for 30 euros.
Yeah.
But today, there is so much variety. Like in Switzerland here also we saw. I think vegetarian food has reached like a fine dining level in Switzerland at least. And then you get all these beautiful meals. The produce is fresh. It's all probably and they nowadays they tell you where the food comes from, right? Where the
it's
produce
a rule in
comes from.
Switzerland that you have to write where the chicken comes from, where the fish comes from.
Yeah, where things come from. But in the veg restaurants, I think they're very innovative now with their dishes that they make. So and like you said, you're right, the portions were huge. Like we couldn't finish one dish each, so we had to split between us. So I think overall it was a good meal.
And as the menu says, if there's one leaf on the menu, it's vegetarian.
Yeah.
If there are 2 leaves on the menu, it's vegan.
Right.
So that was there. Another thing I noticed was that this time menus were more vegetarian friendly, that's one.
Yeah.
But were also more friendly for people who don't want to have alcohol.
Right.
So you'll have a separate section for coffee and tea.
Yeah.
You'll have a separate section for soft drinks. And you'll have something that says with no alcohol.
Yeah.
So there is 0.0% beer. There will be lemonade and all of that. And many more options for that. So that's great. So this was Laax. Now, if you want to end this episode, what would be a couple of tips you would like our listeners to just leave with?
Most Indians love to combine 2 or 3 countries together.
Yeah.
Or even if they go to one country, say if you're doing just a Swiss holiday, you probably like to do at least 2 to 3 places on your one trip. And the good part is that Laax, since we're speaking of Laax, fits in really well with all of this.
Yeah.
So from Laax, not far is Chur, 40 minutes. And you have the Glacier Express going from there. So if you're even looking for a holiday that does Zurich, St. Moritz, and then take the Glacier Express, come to Chur, go to Laax, and continue your journey to Lucerne or wherever it is, it's a great combination. So it kind of fits in really well. If you want to combine 2 countries, then even sometimes landing into Milan and coming to Laax is possible.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing like a Swiss-Italy combination, even then Laax will really fit in very well into your itinerary. So probably after going there, you'll feel I need one more day here, but then that happens with every place in Switzerland, I think.
Every place anywhere, right?
Every place anywhere, because you never have enough. But plan it in such a way that you give yourselves at least 2 to 3 days, because then you can experience the different things. One more thing which we didn't do because we didn't have the time is the fashion outlets, Landquart fashion outlets out there. So that is also ticked off along with your green style, lifestyle, freestyle. Everything can be ticked off from this one base. So you can make it a base and do different things from there.
Sunila, before we end this episode, I just remembered 2 things.
Okay.
One was you can stay on top of that mountain. Now, what was that?
Yes, you can. In fact, the Galaxy restaurant on top, when we took the gondola and we went up, it's not just a restaurant, but it's also a hostel.
Yeah.
So, especially aimed at youth, but you can stay up there overnight and you can enjoy have some beautiful stargazing. And then in the morning, before the crowd comes, because I think the first cable car comes in at 8:30 or 9, before that you can have the slopes all to yourself. So yes, you can stay there.
And the second thing was this massive structure that we went up.
The tower. Yes, how could we forget the tower?
And what? It is connected to a treetop walk.
Correct. So the tower is this activity center. Again, in Laax, when you go in, you see how close everything is.
Yeah.
Because it was just behind the hotel. And then you conveniently have this elevator to go up.
Yeah.
And once you go up, there are a lot of activities there. So you have a zip line also that
Only
takes
in the summer.
Yes, zip line is only in the summer. You have a free fall, or rather, it's not a free fall, but you're tied and like a half bungee,
Yeah, you
half free
jump off
fall
the fourth
kind of
floor.
thing. So these
Yeah.
are all summer activities that you can do. And then you have that slide. So
Yeah.
weather dependent, the slide is working, and it was really cool to see
4
that you
floors
can
down, right?
4 floors
Yeah.
down. You can come there. What we really enjoyed doing was that the treetop walk and Senda Dil Dragun, and that actually connects the Laax resorts to Laax village. So you can actually keep walking all the way. I think it's more than 2 kilometers or around 2 kilometers walk. And it's a beautiful way to spend time with the trees and enjoy the scenery all the time, because you could see the lake and you could see the mountains and you have the trees and you're walking along. And to make it more fun for children, they had that wooden ball and
Yeah,
these
you
little
could play
games
different
from side
games.
to side. So you can play a few games as you walk out there. So yes, that was the tower as well.
Awesome. So I guess that concludes Laax, don't
Mhm.
you think?
Yeah, I think so.
So, and one final question before we end the episode. Getting to Laax, one is from Zurich, but
Mhm.
Milan's also close by, right?
Yeah, that's right. So you can land into Milan also if you're flying in,
Mhm.
and then take the trains and come in. Or like I said, if you're doing a tour of Italy, then start in Rome, make your way up to Milan, and then come into Laax too.
So you could probably take off 2
You could take off
countries
2
if you need.
countries together.
Perfect. So awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for this deep dive into a very new town.
Yeah.
You visited Switzerland so many years ago, and you've been
For so
visiting
many years.
ever since.
And still I found a new place to
And
go.
I'm sure there are more places
Yes.
that we will get to. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Where to Next. This was just one part of Switzerland that we covered over our 10-day trip. Let us know in the comments what you thought of it. And also let us know in the comments what are some other parts of Switzerland you have seen that we have probably never covered on Where to Next. We would love to cover those. Thank you for tuning in. And as we always say, keep celebrating life and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.